games. Got 2 games today and 6 more to go, so anything can definitely still happen. Nongshim Red Force, STE in contention for the top 1 right now.
I'm going to be focusing a lot more, certainly I think tomorrow, on the 11th place bubble as well, because it's been very, very close and it's always super volatile, but it started to stretch out a little bit, right? You've got the bubble right now sat at 78 points with 12th place in 74 points, so a 4-point difference. You're starting to be able to discount teams like, well, I mean, Canada Power for sure, definitely not going to be able to make it here. Hail as well is starting to fade away from me, and 7th Element as well. I don't see the strength that's needed to be able to make up that points difference right now. They'd need to make a profit of about 10 or 11 points, actually a little bit more than that, about 13, 14 points up towards that bubble over these next couple of matches. And right now, I'm just not seeing that strength. I'm not seeing that proactiveness. I'm not seeing that gun skill. And I'm not seeing the intelligent rotations that's needed to try and launch themselves up a little bit further.
Mm-hmm. Definitely true there with all the statements you've made. Looking at the minimap, a lot of teams have made their way in already before heading into stage 2. Nongshim Red Force pretty centered up right there, right in Minas de Valle. They are in the city and hyper close by. Enigma Galaxy looting Valdemar far in the southwest. That is their loot location. We'll see where the circles shift. The only teams that haven't really made their way in is, well, there's a couple, but a big one to pay attention to is Morph. They're all the way in the north in the blue right now.
Close to 7th Element as well. They have swung all the way to try and get further to that western road. I mean, that western road rotate is probably one of the more viable for the teams all the way up there. It's obviously very, very treacherous to get through on the east side of this circle, moving past Picardo into a terrain that's very occupied. But that west road, in general, is quite smooth, unless you run into a roadblock, which is certainly a possibility, given how these teams have already moved.
Mm-hmm. The west road definitely favorable, because you don't even have to take the road. You could take the hills even more west, right? But all the roads east of that are just intersections with strong compounds, with a team potentially being there. And then even if you veer off meeting opposition, you're veering off into other compounds, which could easily house another team. So a lot of teams are looking to take that western path if the circle shifts there. So everyone in the blue on the north, I think they're waiting to see the second circle before really committing to something. And well, with that one, you could take that western road still, but that just leads you into wrapping into the south, which isn't too great either. This is classic Miramar rotations, one of the hardest things to do here.
It is very, very tricky. Navigating these early circles, always a challenge, but it's still phase 1. The zone isn't going to be super dramatic on the health bars right now. You can keep that stim up and you can survive for a very, very long time out in the zone. So even now, if you're Morph, if you're 7th Element, you don't need to make a decision. Although at this stage, with the circle as it is, it's probably likely that you're going to want to get nice and close because teams are going to pack themselves in tight towards Chumacera as the circle falls on top of it.
Wow, and Hyper forced to give up that revive from the suppressive fire, and probably good for them that that suppressive fire came out, because if he stuck that revive, Inko would have pulled up right next to them. Inko with the 4-man, Nongshim picking up the first point of the match right now.
Nongshim Red Force still looking to defend their top spot from the top of the hill. They've moved in right into the central glut there. Pretty much slap bang in the center of this circle, as are Inko. Both of them looking to try and control a nice slice of ground there. Everybody is really packing into Chumacera now.
Oh, what a knock from distance for NB Esports. That was a very long distance knock and confirmation. Nasser definitely not expecting a team way on their backside out of the new zone. We'll lose 1. Nasser's had some shines here, but I feel like the big one for me was that one match where they had 4 on Erangel towards the late game and they couldn't close it out. And I think that was their last chance to really make a statement here.
Intense game, close up to Hero from STE. STE do have plenty of players in this angle. And there's a nade coming on through to find Cielo on the front. So Intense Game lose one of their players close by. Diego super low, hops into the vehicle, but Hero's more preoccupied with the flush. It's going to allow Diego to get that heal off, potentially, in the vehicle. I don't know if they think he's in the vehicle. I think they think he's behind it, trying to use it as cover instead. I don't think he's got a first aid either. It looks like bandages are being applied slowly but surely. Adrian from the back line spots 33Z and gets the flush in the meantime, though.
Yeah, that is a big loss for the side of STE. If they manage to keep that player up, they not only have 4 players up, but high ground to oversight everything. They did already get 2, so getting the 3rd should be good, but Adrian gets one in the back line. It's a 1v2 and a molly coming in. This could change very quickly into the 1v1.
Sits it down right underneath, and he is still burning. Is it enough to find the knock before the heal comes through? I think Hero might just be able to get it, but the nade is there. Forces the reposition, and it's now a 1 versus 1. The res on the backline can come through for STE, but this is not good news. Either way, they're going to have to get out of there with minimal supplies, with minimal players compared to what they should have had, which is all 4 of their players in a decent scenario. And there's an oversight position as well. It just gets worse for STE as NB roll on up from the west.
Yeah, this is very bad for the side of STE, especially with Nongshim just chilling right now with 4 up. And we know Nongshim Ref Force such a consistent team. If you're not getting points, Nongshim is. So STE, they may have picked up 3 elim points, but probably not the trade that they were looking for if they're shooting for that top 1 spot.
Not ideal. STE playing on us 2 now. The circle shifts out to the east side. And again, keeps a lot of Chumacera in. Maybe another urban finish for us. If it shifts that way. Treacherous terrain around Chumacera. It's a really difficult area to play. There's a lot of complex topography that sits in this area. Some really solid high grounds that are great to hold but difficult to leave. Some interesting side defilades that sit around the area as well.
Yeah. With STE losing 2 players and Nongshim with 4, my focus has shifted to the 3rd place position now between Nigma Galaxy and Morph. So Morph with all 4 up on the northeast side, very clear of enemies. They have full control of it pretty much. So if they get a nice shift, they are good. Nigma Galaxy, however, coming down from the southwest, many teams in their way in opposition in a, like you mentioned, treacherous terrain for them to navigate. This is definitely favoring more so Morph than Nigma Galaxy for the top 3 position.
Morph have got a little bit more isolation on their side. They will try and keep that under their control. Next Ruya as well on the eastern edge might be able to stay alive if FaZe don't push them too hard, but I don't think FaZe have too many other options from the southeast side. They could try and push up but towards Kanina Power, but that's a lot of open ground right in front of Next Ruya. It's going to be very difficult on the southeastern side. NASA just getting shunted out. I don't think you get much further here. There's so much open ground for them to cross. Okay, somehow get through, gets to the shack.
Oh, 7th Element going in on a crash straight onto Hale. Hale do have 4 players, but it is a bit of a split defense. Can the brute force work? Hale pulling up on the reinforcement, and 7th Element getting cut down to just a singular player right now in Hyper from distance, popping shots off as well.
Tiger still resable for the roster of Hale as well, so they can fold back together. They have managed to rebuff the push almost entirely. No one really looking to crash just yet and go for a 3rd party. We'll see if they're able to keep all 3 players alive or if something is going to change on that front. Meanwhile, the circle does shift and it closes yet again right onto the middle, kind of cutting out a lot of the urban position of Chumacera in terms of the ending potential, but still very powerful positions to be played around there.
Yeah, and with that shift, this is Morph's game to pass up Nigma Galaxy. Nigma Galaxy, they're known for their rotations. If they can make a good one here and win the fight that follows right up, more importantly, there's a chance Nigma Galaxy can still hold on to the top 3, but that is a difficult shift nonetheless for them.
FaZe have moved over towards Next Ruya as well. It was kind of their only option to try and take this fight because they can't stretch out ahead of it. Next Ruya will just take them down. Frozen's a little bit isolated for Next Ruya and may be vulnerable to a nade or 2 as NB lose a player on the outside to the remaining duo of STE, but damage is flying back their way. That's actually going to be Ducksan completely taking down Sunan. As Oxy has the spray, has the angle. NB have lost their player and they're down to 3 on the west.
Duxon playing a little bit of a split on the northwest, and that's good for them. They have control of it, so spreading out, maybe going for some off angles on some teams fighting elsewhere. Next, Ruya and FaZe do go for the full engagement now. They are forced to. FaZe looking good, finding the first opening. Next, Ruya with only 3. No, they have 3. Their third player not really being able to be seen on the map right now. And they're starting to back off. FaZe with 4, just pressing in.
Frozen did nothing from this forward position. He'd allowed FaZe to move down through, didn't step up for the crossfire peaks. I mean, is he waiting for them to step in front of him so he can backstab? I'm not entirely sure what the plan here was for Frozen. And it looks like FaZe have just given them the loop. I mean, Dokuma and Yekta isolated as a duo. It's going to leave Frozen alone. If he gets the shot to Mela, sure, okay, that's good. That's a good result, but I feel like it should have happened a little bit earlier that he steps up, because now he's got 3 players of FaZe to worry about, all on his own. And in my mind, that's a misstep. That's a mistake from Next Ruya, and it's the sort of thing we've been seeing from them continually so far during Group Red.
Yeah, just not working as a team, and the other 2 that went away and just tried to play in zone got taken out by Morph. So they could have, you know, used those 3 to maybe get a knock on FaZe and get a point at the very least. And it's important because survival stage, right? They're not looking for top 3 at this point, but they don't even have that top, you know, a 13 spot really secured either.
They really need to step up their game. Need to keep putting that pressure on up. It's not going to get any easier, I'll tell you that much. But they are out of this match, so they'll have another Miramar today to play, but that's it. Kanina Power looking to hold off against Enigma Galaxy now. Agori, Lucci, Becca on the inside. Freak with the challenge, but can't find the damage. A good start to the hold for Kanina Power. Finding Freak. Enigma Galaxy again, losing Coops. Difficult position as the Kanina Power team will restructure themselves. Look at the adjustment from Nongshim Red Force, though. They're coming on through to try and third party from the high ground and see if they can scrap it on in. Kanina Power have lost a player, though, and that is to Enigma Galaxy. So even with that advantage, Kanina Power are going to be at the disadvantage of having that high ground controlled. You can't really go for these pushes straight on through. FaZe have rotated out to the east side. They were trapped on the south, and Morph's split will continue to dominate on this eastern side of the map. Just playing quite split, with pepping on that high ground compound there that sits on the northern edge of this circle. It's a little bit vulnerable, but no one really in a position to push for it. I think Duxan may be the only team with that opportunity to go on through on that northern side and maybe challenge the solo from Morph.
He should be positioned in a way to back off too, because Morph definitely looking to control more of that eastern front side. More rotations coming in, and yeah, controlling that eastern front side pays off. They pick up 2 more points, taking out FaZe. Kanina Power now having to make a move, being surrounded by Nongshim Red Force. And so many other teams looking this way as well.
Kanina Power are able to handle the roll-up from Nexus. Sorry, not from Nexus, from Enigma Galaxy. It looks like Enigma Galaxy, yeah, they're just put down to 1 here, leaving just Ralph, and in fact, not even that, because they do get flushed away. So good news for Morph to continue to put more pressure on and open a potential gap here between them and Enigma Galaxy, as they have racked up 8 eliminations right now. FaZe swept away, and now the east side still dominated. Udo Alliance trying to hold on. They still have 4. They are also in a really, really strong position and a really strong compound with excellent high ground angles.
Yeah, that is probably the best compound to be in right now, besides Morph's position playing on the outside. Nongshim Red Force making a wrap towards the field with 4. That's surprising for me. With 4 players, I'd imagine they try to fight their way into a more dominant position. But Nongshim Red Force so consistent, they can still ink stuff out from this terrible spot on the low ground. Trying to stay alive. It's not looking great, I'd have to say, as another player gets taken down by a Udo Alliance.
They're just controlling. Look at these balconies. Look at the elevation that they have. The shots down just cannot be converted away from, as XZY trying to hold it in for Nongshim Red Force. Trying to stay consistent. They've already outlasted STE though. But on 4 eliminations, that gap would close by 1 if they go out here. Tizzy wanting to have a teammate to keep him in the fold of it, but in comes the backup.
Ooh.
The buggy run down onto Xenox, and that is bold, but it's going to work. Sporter onto the inside, looking for NASA to try and close down this fight, and on the inside, they will fall in the face of Nongshim Red Force. Yudu Alliance, though, still have these angles. It's going to be so hard to make this work.
Nongshim Red Force playing that so well, but I feel like NASA really dropped the ball there. They threw 2 nades towards the player of XZY, and both of them just overshot way too far. The target was right in front of them, and that allowed for the backup to come in. Nongshim Red Force do it once again. They pick up elimination points and make their way further into this match, just keeping on that point streak going on.
The Morph spread still dominates on the east side. And it doesn't get much better for Yudu Alliance than this, to be honest. In their current position, they still have got excellent isolation and high ground control. The difficulty is that if they have to leave this area, it is similarly isolated, right? They have a very tough time ahead of them if they're going to have to leave. And Hyper, trying to stay alive on the west side, they'll have to push a little bit closer, and they've only got 1 elimination so far. They'll have to do more than that to keep up with Yudu Alliance.
Yeah, Yudu Alliance now passed them up, and Yudu Alliance definitely going to stay that way. This compound's so strong, 4 up, still getting shots off. One of Inko getting caught, and Ebeche looking to get revived and just out of sight. However, the other player of Yudu Alliance on the other side of that wall should be able to find that angle. Nongshim Red Force, did they get that zone? No, just out of reach. They're going to have to move a little bit more. Morph, meanwhile, I mean, easy pickings for them. Up to 8 eliminations. Des talked about it, right? Morph, this is their best map, and they are showing it.
I said I was disappointed. I said I didn't see in them what I saw in the other teams towards the top 3. And right now, Enigma Galaxy, I mean, they failed at their game plan today. I think there's no 2 ways about it. It just has not worked for them. And Morph are ready to capitalize. This is their opportunity, and they will be able to do it. A wise decision to keep this spread going for so long. I mean, even Bubuhu as a solo, they know nobody's going to threaten on the eastern side. They know that Yudu Alliance is such a stronghold. Ducksan trying to move south, but Morph just control them from this high ground compound. Hoxie is alive in the mix of it. We've seen what he can do with a nade. See if he can repeat that performance. You've got QX on the off angle, but there are only 2 alive coming on through for Ducksan. The shots come on through. 5 eliminations now for Yudu Alliance as they start to continue to ring out the shots.
Yeah. Morph really want those points, so down in that dip, looking so juicy. And Yoru might have overstepped a little bit as he does get knocked in that elimination feed. However, Morph cleans up the side of Duckson, at least one of them. And Hyper getting taken out right now, eliminated in 7th with only 1 point. Nongshim surely must be stopped, and he does go down to Inko.
Shots from Inko and Yudu Alliance, just too much to handle. Inko in a decent spot as well. They've got mobility along that ridge line that isn't afforded to Yudu Alliance, but they have the sight lines to worry about from that area. Morph wanted to keep everyone nice and safe. They haven't managed to fully get rid of Ducksan just yet. There's only 2 players now instead of the full 4 that was there before, and they can get this res with the carry.
Yeah. Hale right now, the biggest threat probably to Morph with only 3 up. They're just making sure their sides are clear. Inko doing the same, taking shots way out into the blue. No one's there, just making sure no one's hiding behind any bushes maybe. And we are going to go into the next zone shift before anything really major happens. I mean, Duckson just trying to stay alive. They will finally go out there. We're down to the last couple of teams.
This is interesting now because Morph are isolated to the north side. They don't have a great amount of mobility here. They can move down. There's a little ridge that they can get across the road to, but I think Hale is really controlling that crossing at this stage. I think Morph don't really have a choice, though. They're going to play a little bit closer to the east side and get across where they can.
There is a bit of a couple of bumps in the hills on that east side that they could use. You can see Bubuhu going towards that way right now. The position he stopped in just now is a defilade. I think if you go further south of that crate that dropped, and they could use a crate as well as a position. Inko, some of their players getting cut down here. I think Inko lost the zone. Yeah, Inko lost the zone inside that shack, so they're trying to make some plays happen.
Gonna have to make a move. To be honest, Yudu Alliance don't have the best of positions, but they are still in the zone, which is going to be a major factor. They've actually sent a player out on that off angle. They've left Iftar all the way out to the east side to try and control where Morph are going to look to go, and Morph have in fact looked to make this crossing. Inko trying to slow Hale down, will find a knock. I don't think that Hale are going to go for this res. Actually, he turns around, he's going to cross back over open ground, and maybe they are going to go for it. I mean, I don't think they should, but then again, I'm not in the game. Tiger is the closest. Doesn't really have a vehicle. Sorry, he sat right next to his car, but hasn't got into it just yet to enact this. The smokes need to be there first.
Yeah, I think the other player was just driving around to see when the bullets would stop shooting at him, to see if there is a spot in the zone that is out of line of sight. I mean, very soon it will be, because Morph from that high ground still utilizing it out of zone, and nice knock right there from Hale. Is he gonna go in for the zone, or maybe just go in for the point confirmations? Almost a suicide mission, but he will stop short in that dip. Not fully in zone, however. They keep going. Another player taken down.
Hale just having a tough time of this one. It always was going to be difficult, though. The high grounds, every single angle is going to be looking at them, and they were the team that needed to be forced out first. But Inko similarly in a pretty sticky situation, a knock to see them down the hill, but U2 Alliance have taken a knock coming through from Inko, from Nenebeche, still in action, still willing to go the distance. Morph, however, I think at this stage might just be in an indomitable position. If they can get this res on the front, if they can keep Yoru alive, if they can control this side of the road, they're gonna have a great time here.
Yeah, but look at Hale. Hale somehow managed to keep all three up through that. One goes down though, and oh, the knocks, those are huge out of the side of Morph. U2 Alliance actually chiming in on one side. Player does get knocked. Morph needs to finish this fast, because if U2 Alliance spring up now, they're at a number disadvantage.
Out their backline, Bubahu steps out, and actually it's going to allow Pepeng to sail on in. Can they get the res onto Cleon? Because this ridge that they've stepped up towards should be the winning position here. U2 Alliance have had to flex out in the meantime to take care of Inko, who are still alive with two. Vitali and Squash in a defilade of their own, but Squash gets lit up, and Bubahu steps over that ridgeline. Excellent peek out there to pick up some points and leaving Inko out of this match. Now it's just U2 Alliance and more.
Look at Morph's elimination numbers. Up to 14 already. Make that 15. 2 more to go. Actually, 3 more to go. U2 Alliance, there's really no chance of them making it in. The smart thing would just be to deny the points, but honestly, you don't need to, because Morph is looking for that top 3, not that survival spot. Let's see if U2 Alliance decides to make something happen and try and go for something, but that's just more points for Morph.
Yes, I mean, U2 Alliance, it is out of the realms of possibility that U2 Alliance could jump up towards that third place, but with Morph doing what they're doing here, with the lead that already existed towards those top 2, I don't see it being possible after this match. U2 Alliance will extract a little bit of blood there from Yoru, who will go down, but they'll have to trade it off for a full flush over onto Olio, and now it's just Blacks spraying up towards Cleon. They know exactly where he is. Bubahu will look for the close down here. A close run, steps up, gets the spray. The shotgun in close range is dangerous to deal with, but the jump through, the strafe is good to keep him safe for now. Keeping him penned in, making sure that he can't leave here. Instead, just steps out, and that's going to be a nice, clean sweep. Morph able to dominate, control, and manipulate this zone from the eastern side. Everybody who went to Jumasera early suffered at their hands. This is what they wanted to see. They will now be in contest for those top spots.
Yeah, great circles for Morph. Remember, they came in from the very far north. At one point I mentioned they're still in the blue zone when everyone else has rotated in. So they get a little bit of that circle luck, but they executed it perfectly, playing those splits, holding those angles, and controlling everyone. Not just that, they got the eliminations too. Sometimes when teams get those favorable zone shifts, they play way too passive and they get a chicken, but not a lot of elims. That is not the case for Morph.
No, it certainly wasn't. I think they got 19 eliminations that match. Bubahu was stepping out for some pretty bold peaks, but had the backing of his team. They knew they had the terrain cover to be able to crawl back and get these reses on board and make sure that it was working for them. So, I mean, excellent control. I don't have any notes on their position. I think they definitely stepped out and were an aggressive controlling team, as you said, unlike what we've seen from some other instances. So hopefully, they're going to have a good chance at jumping up.
Yeah, one thing I like to make note of is that the player reactions we just saw just now, they're excited, they're happy, but they're not cheering. They know they passed up Nigma Galaxy. They know they're in the top 3, but they also know Nigma Galaxy is a formidable team and their work is nowhere close to done. So they're keeping their composure, and Morph, I mean, we still got one more Miramar game, and we already said this is one of their better maps. Could they do it once again?
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, there is that last match of the day. Can STE still stay alive for that little bit longer next time around and keep them out of that second place? We'll have to wait and see, but Morph put up big numbers to be able to close down the first Miramar.
What did we say right before this match started? You gotta watch out for Morph, because Morph and Miramar, like peanut butter and jelly, baby. What a performance right when it counted. Oh man, Enigma Galaxy, you better watch out. They better watch out. That's tough.
Watch out. They already got passed. And there's already, I assume, a reasonable gap there. It's more about it's time to step up for them if they want to reclaim that third place position.
Good point. It's a good point. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that we know for a fact that after that performance, there's going to be a good, solid cap. So I can't wait to see exactly how much that is going to be. 28 points. Goodness gracious. The huge performances here, Seven, just have been shaking up this leaderboard time and time again.
Talk about dominating a map, huh? 3 chicken dinners now in Miramar. If it wasn't for Miramar, man, this team would not be anywhere near up here in the top 3, but I'm glad that they're taking advantage of it. I'm glad that they're continuing to just excel here at Miramar with their splits, with their rotations. Everything's working out wonders for them, 18 elements. But I gotta give some props here to Udo Alliance. This team has been consistent, it has been quiet, and it has actually climbed up to the ranks, and I can't wait to see what they're gonna be in the overall ranking alongside with Inko. Even though Inko's not gonna be pushing for those top 3, guess what? Inko's now starting to secure themselves some good points at trying to be within the top 11, because that's currently what they're going to be aiming at. Top 3, out of the question, Cam, for them is going to be being top 11.
Yeah, actually looking at the overall, Inko are top 8. They've even gotten to the left side of the leaderboard. So for the team that was just struggling after day 1, struggled at the beginning of today still, they jumped up. And part of this, we have to recognize, once again, how tight, how close the points were and still are. I mean, it's less than 3, it is 3 points between where Inko is down to Duksan in 12th place, but they're still on the left side. They're still making sure that they're not going to be in the bottom 5. I think it's a bit too much to ask for Udo Alliance to try and break into the top 3. They're gonna have to have like multiple amazing games, like try and end out today with a win and get like 1 or 2 tomorrow for that to happen. But for teams like Inko and FaZe, like just maintaining their position out of the bottom 5 is the name of the game for them. And y'all's performance is going to make sure that they don't have to worry so much about that aspect of this group stage.
Yeah, and another team here that we kind of have to mention is DS. What happened with this team? This is a team that after day 1, they were in 5th place. We're like, okay, this could be a contender for a top 3. Absolutely awful performances yesterday, absolutely awful performances today too. Hopefully they'll be able to react, because at this point they're looking like they're going to be going home.
Cameron, look at the difference between the top Miramar performers. I mean, look at the dominance from Morph. It's crazy.
Yeah, like double the elimination points, double the damage. Placement points looking really good, of course, as well. It's insane. Like, you guys were selling me on Morph on Miramar already. I didn't see these numbers. Like, these stocks only keep going up. Like, I will buy high because it's going to continue to go high. There's no selling low here. It's just going up, up, and up.
Man, I mean, the great part for them too is like tomorrow is going to end in Miramar, right? So like the fact that they're going to have that in their back pocket, I think is going to help them out a whole lot, because we've seen time and time again, Seven, right? Those final matches of the day in a tournament just be all over the place, right? Because you got teams at the bottom that, you know, they realize that it's all over, and then now it's possible that we see the teams at the top that can decide to look down and be like, hey, who are we gonna destroy here, right?
I mean, with the way some of the teams at the top have been performing, I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow if for some reason first place and second place create a little bit of a gap between each other. I see first place, which is probably going to be Noncham Red Force, starting to play a little bit more confident. We saw that out of them today, and they're continuing to position themselves, getting those points. I don't see that slowing down in any way, shape, or form. So if I'm willing to nitpick here at a Noncham Red Force, is I would like to see them get a chicken dinner. We haven't seen them get a chicken dinner since, what was it, day 1, when they ended up getting 2 chicken dinners. I would like to see them being able to finish off a map, but I can't really complain much because this team's being able to get points every single match. Consistency, baby.
Well, you do raise a good question, because you're right, they haven't gotten any wins. They've gotten a number of points, but like, what's going to happen when they reach the Grand Finals, right? Like that's, will they be able to sort of soak up all of these, shall we say, easier points throughout the mid towards the end game? Will they have the same opportunities when it's an even harder stage of this tournament? So I think with their positioning right now, how safe they are in the top 3, yeah, I actually agree. I think at this point they should start to maybe not completely rewrite their game plan, but maybe experiment, see how far they can push the envelope on trying to get these points and these wins.
Well, you know what? As soon as you said that, the alarms went off in my head, man, because there's so many things to talk about, but we got one match left to go. Let's go ahead and take it on over to our casters.
We're going to be closing out the 3rd day with another helping of Miramar, of course. Morph, brilliant showing in that last match. Excellent elimination count as well, getting up to 18 towards the end, taking some nice aggressive angles on their hold. See if they can keep this one going, because Miramar seems to be a playground for them today.
Oh yeah, Morph really showing us Miramar is their map. We saw it on the stats, right? If you didn't, you could rewind a little bit, but their stats, eliminations, they had up to 58. I think the second closest was 27 of the next team. So yeah, they are really showing us they are the Miramar experts. And you know what? Maybe it's a coincidence, but back in the heydays of BTR, also reigning from Indonesia, right? They were known as the Miramar Kings as well. So region div when it comes to Miramar? Maybe so, but we got one more Miramar. This is the last match of the day. And, well, Nigma Galaxy, what really, should be on their mind right now is they need the points, because if they don't get this, a good game in here, they move on to survival stage, which is, not too bad, but they had such a firm lead. To lose the golden ticket now would be, I don't know how their mental would be going into survival stage if that is where they end up.
It's real tricky. I mean, the event that I will always remember was Gladiators just falling out of the top 3 right at the last moment last year at PMGC. They went into 4th place, getting forced into the survival stage, and people were very confident, that we'd still be seeing the Gladiators through. But every single time that they had to go that little bit further, they just fell short by 1 mark, and they didn't end up going to the Grand Finals, which was really unfortunate to see that one happen. But that's just how it goes sometimes. You do really want to find these early qualification spots, get that money on board. The jump up, if you look at the money, it's a little bit misleading, because the jump up from 4th to 3rd place is quite a big jump, right? It's $16,000 in these group stages for 4th place and $38,000 for 3rd place. But what you have to remember is there's also money to be played for in the survival stage. So if you come 4th place, don't make it through, 16,000. If you win the survival stage, you get 10,000, and then if you win the last chance after that, you get a further 10,000. So there's a potential to get up to $36,000 on your performance if you come in 4th place, which is $2,000 less than 3rd place. So it's a little bit less egregious. Let's talk about something that is egregious though, because that zone's just popped.
Yeah, that's a hard southeast one. Oh man, we haven't seen this one before on Miramar, not with this group. So another tricky one to deal with. And Morph, they're coming in from, well, they came in from the far north last time. Are they going to take a similar drop spot with a different plane? No, they're actually going to be in the far southwest. So Morph dropping in Vidimar. They should get a nice little slingshot in on the south side. We'll keep that in mind. A little bit of a 1v1 hot drop here. Chiffon versus, that is GokuBot. GokuBot with only a pistol. Can he find a weapon? Gets a mini. But, oh, look at Chiffon's gear. Level 3 helmet, level 2 vest. Oh, that's all you could really ask for in a quick drop fight.
And a teammate as well. Feel like that's even better. Steps out, red dot on the AK. It's going to be good for it. 7th element, lose a player, and a point found. Fair and hyper.
Oh, another drop here with a potential fight. STE. Oh, Shing, very isolated. I see 4 yellow dots on that minimap. The rest of STE, close by, but not close enough. Hopefully they could get some vehicles to come help, but NB Esports taking this approach a little bit on the slower side. Oh, the back angle. Shing gets caught.
That's unfortunate. He was isolated. He was split through and will go down. There's no two ways about it. No rescue to be found there. So STE playing on as 3. Not ideal, but they're still 156 points. I mean, their day has gone, I would say, quite well. They've had 2 chicken dinners so far, and they've looked pretty solid in situations where we've criticized them a little bit before. Losing a player early, I mean, it's unfortunate, but with the playing path and the circle as it is, it's going to happen at some point. So I'm not unwilling to give them the benefit of the doubt here. The question is, how do they play on from here as 3?
Yeah, they need to do the best they can. And we saw that last match, right? They did run into a lot of opposition early. They got third-partied. The fight with, I believe it was Intense Game, didn't pan out exactly the way that they wanted. And Nongshim, I was saying, man, Nongshim's going to, you know, widen that gap even more. But at the end of the match, Nongshim got 7 points, and then SE got 4. So do whatever you can. Every point counts. And just because you're down to 3 early doesn't mean the first place you're trying to chase after is going to get that many more points than you. So they got to keep their heads up, keep the confidence going, and stick to what works for them.
Over on the east side, with the circle as it sits, some advantage to dropping on the southeast side. Impala was dropped on towards FaZe, and Intense Game were in Puerto Paraíso. You've also got Enigma Galaxy, who obviously split on that south side. This is their opportunity to come back strong today, because it has not been their day. They have, as I said in the last match, failed at their game plan, quite frankly, and it needs to be better. So hopefully this last match can turn it around a little bit. We've seen it from other teams. I think Morph were able to do it yesterday, where at the end of their match, end of their day, they just sort of put in a strong performance to keep them up there and in the conversation. Vitali for Inko gets shut out almost immediately. Divine still has more players to deal with, though, as Becker is right next door, turns away and won't go any further in.
Yeah, he's going to turn tail and run, maybe into the sightlines of FaZe. These fast rotations are working out for 7th Element here, picking up a quick elimination. They did lose one also, so not the best trade, but looking more so for the points, because 7th Element, they're not at that cutoff yet for the survival. And I think at this point, you might even want to just trade a point for a player. That's not good whatsoever, but you want to get some points to make it into that cutoff.
Alian, some shots away, over in the distance, but FaZe have got a little bit of a scrap to get on towards Impala. They're trying to break out, and then Hyper are their challenger right now. A nice nade from Mela, finds the final tickle FS to find the knock, and that's an isolated player as well. It's going to need some commitment to go for this res. Commitment from Hyper to get across this open ground, but Inko have a little bit of a sight line over there. Can need a power potentially as well. Might be not too far out of the question. Next, Ruya is sending down the east coast to the east of Impala, and they will be potentially rolling up to this scrap as well.
Yeah, this is currently a 3-way fight between 7th Element and Hyper and FaZe. It looks like they will give up on FS, and it seems like this has kind of been in Hyper's thing. They're playing it more on the safe side. I don't know. I feel like in Hyper kind of need to switch their mental and just aim for that top 3 when it's still somewhat possible, which means they need to play much more confident. They need to take a little bit more risks, right? And if they start doing really poorly, then go into the default safe mode to make it into the survival stage. But you heard the desk say it. If Hyper can't make it in here, the confidence for them to making it into the finals through the survival or last chance, not very good.
So starting to fade these opportunities. I mean, not super long with a format. 24, it does go by quite quickly if you're not paying attention. And they only have this match and then the 6 tomorrow, so 7 matches total for each of these teams to put their final bid into the ring. Try and get up to that 11th place, the all-important 11th place. From 4th down to 11th, that's the positions that see you into the survival stage. The top 3 obviously going right to the Grand Finals almost immediately, well, in fact, immediately. And they will be seen in Turkey after being in this almost boot camp situation, I suppose, over in Malaysia.
Oh, look at this. This might be a planned camp out in Enigma Galaxy. They know Morph dropped towards Valle de Mar based on that plane path. And yeah, look at that. That is a setup if I've ever seen one. If any team knows teams' rotations, meaning other teams' rotations, it is Enigma Galaxy. They study so hard. And we saw in the interview, that is one thing they focus on. That is a trap play. Is Morph going to fall for it, though? Far in that southwest side.
It seemed like they were scouting it out. Their player on the front, certainly scanning the terrain. I wonder if they spotted something, if they think something's fishy. Another circle goes to the east side, towards Puerto Paraíso, and keeps a lot of Los Leones in there, but a lot of hillsides to be played around here. Enigma Galaxy still holding face, holding strong to try and guard out their contenders to the third place spot.
I love this attempt out of Enigma Galaxy. It's probably more effective right now with that point gap made. It's probably more effective to stop the opposition in third place and then play your game and adapt to the circles later on versus just playing your game and letting Morph do the same as well, especially with how dominant Morph is on this map.
See if they can actually extract value from the position, because Morph is still just... it feels like they know something's up, right? Like there's no...
Definitely.
There's no way you don't
something.
just go through if you think that if you don't think there's anyone there, but we'll have to wait and see if they can break through. In the meantime, though, players towards the center are really going to have to start to heat up their performances as Inco trading back and forth with N-Hyper, 7th Element, just over this hillside as well. That nade goes a little bit long for Squash. Phaser here, 4 teams now in the vicinity, a potential 4-way engagement as teams will start to pour in and pile towards the center. Udo Alliance close by. Hale have shots out towards this direction as well, and teams are starting to fall. Inco's the first to do so, and Brazil, they're going to have a little bit of an unfortunate turn of events here. 85 points so far, that's where they'll finish today. As the rest of the team's trying to find these little divots, these ditches, these small valleys.
Yeah, the fight rages on. FaZe ejecting out of there with the last 2 players, but look at the just all the different colors that they're driving by on that mini-map. So many teams trying to find whatever positions they can here. With this many hills and ridges, you never know what's over the next bump. So they have to be very careful. And the fight did start out, I think, between Enigma Galaxy and Morph. Morph did lose. I think Morph lost the play, or did?
They did, yeah.
At the right side, yeah. So it works out. They catch one. I don't think they'll catch more, but that is damage done.
Hale able to take down Olio from Udo Alliance, trying to push in central on this divot. This position currently that Hale sit in is probably pretty strong for the next couple of circles. They want to move forwards, though. They want to take this compound from Udo instead. From Udo Alliance, they will try and wrest control of the building. Flax cooking the nade to try and stop the roll-up, but dips it down a little bit short, but it's going to be perfectly placed to find Get Slow on the outside. Maybe finding another as well as Nutin steps into a dangerous position, but Flax follows it up, gets the flash.
Good point confirmation there. Udo Alliance, they are near the top of the leaderboards. If they have a stellar game here, their name is in the conversation for tomorrow for the top 3. I mean, we have 6 games after this. Anything could still happen. We'll see how that plays out. Enigma Galaxy all the way down on the south side now, and that's a great shift for them. It goes down south. Nongshim Red Force right in the middle with a huge split. STE coming in from the far northeast with only 3. That's going to be tough for them to fight their way in with a number disadvantage.
I think Nongshim are going to have to regroup down towards the south. In fact, yeah, they are going to move there to the compound that sits in that crook of the road that's around that area. They're going to try and play for that, have a lot of control down to the southwest side as well. So a team like Enigma Galaxy and more are going to have a lot harder of a time against Nongshim Red Force. N-Hyper still surviving in this, what was a central location, now right on the edge of this next zone.
Chiffon popping off some shots with the mini. GK First is still down. They will not be able to get that revive. They need to keep both players up to put out suppressive fire, to force the players away before even thinking about a potential revive. A tense game close by as well. It looks like with the player bleeding out very low, they're going to go for it. And they did put out enough suppressive fire for a 7th element to just stay away and not push any further into them.
Udo Alliance still holding onto the building. Tiger on the inside. They know he's there. They've had the challenge, but Tiger opens up. Can't quite find the angle before he gets rolled down. And another flush found for Udo Alliance. 2 eliminations found at the cost of Olio, who went down on the outside a little bit earlier on. Nutin's on the out near that skip, trying to stay alive. Sky only, rotating through. Flax tries to get out into the vehicle, and will be able to do so, afforded that opportunity by his teammates, but they are just going to be able to cut through, and that is an excellent hold for Hale with 3 players against the 4 of Udo Alliance. Really, really nice stuff for Udo Alliance to be able to take that one down and add 4 eliminations to their tally. Maybe chase towards more for Enigma Galaxy, more likely.
Yeah, Udo Alliance doing pretty good here. And Hyper should be able to finish out that fight with Chiffon getting the opening and the second one right there. The last player looking to get a revive. Might be able to get that revive off, but they're going to have to back up real quickly. Nade should be coming in. And Hyper up with 4 elimination points. Yeah, decides better to go for the, not to go for the revive and just create some space as the rest of it, Hyper pressing ever so closer. And an intense game taking a fight on the bottom right-hand side of that screen against, I think that is Next Ruya.
All the way down there, and that's the DBS to find the first knock. A really good open there for intense game. All 4 of their players still alive, still in action. Next Ruya suffering a lot more there. The nades start to pour on through. And I think that's going to be the majority of Next Ruya taken care of, if not all of them. They will be wiped away. Really, really tough stuff on the east side, but now you're going to have to get more central. What can you do? Nina Power have gotten the compound that was regrouped away from by Nongshim Red Force, and they might have a good time of it there. DGR, though, is knocked on the outside, and I don't think they have that many players left on the in.
Yeah, it looks like STE down to just a solo. Nongshim will be widening that gap, especially with a center position with 4 players up. This could be a huge game for Nongshim. Can Hero do anything here? Maybe get 1 point? Looks around, the buggy's circling around him, distracting him every which way. He doesn't know where to look, and he will get taken out. Meanwhile, is Morph down to 1?
They are.
Morph is down to 1, so that little roadblock set up by Enigma Galaxy, they may have not been the ones to take out the majority of Morph, but it was enough to throw off their game plan, and it worked beautifully.
A lot of these teams in the top 3 going down, so it is Enigma Galaxy's chance here to try and catch up just that little bit. With 3 players alive, Udo Alliance with that 4th elimination, with that 4 elimination count, maybe having a chance, but they're right on the northeastern side. Can Enigma Galaxy find an opening, find the miracle that they've been waiting for today? That's spotted by NB on that northwestern side. That's really bad news for their move because the zone's already crushing through, and it's unlikely that you can spend the time to get this flush, especially when NB want to try and control it as well. The res looking less and less likely by the second.
Mondo with the nade primed, looking towards where that vehicle was making sound. Doesn't catch a player. Akaze with the nade of his own. Nothing connecting, but they're getting a lot of territory control. They're forcing Duxon back further and further, giving them the advantage in the gunfight.
Another player rolled up on now as Fist gets sprayed down onto Zipyan. And Sek looking for more as well to the backlines. I think they did manage to just get that res, but no, it's just one. Hoxie has the nade cooked, looking for the player, but there's a buggy sailing past, just sidesteps it in time. Mondo, though, out and into the fight. Gets a little bit hairy, but they will be able to close it out. And that's Duxan eliminated on the northwestern side. Now, can NB convert? Because they didn't take any knocks here, so they have a chance to try and move forward strong.
7 eliminations for NB Esports. That's big for them. They have a nice amount of points, but they definitely want to pad that a bit more before heading into tomorrow. And Hyper rolling up with 5 elimination points, down to 3. Still manageable, though. Looking to control the edge sides here. They will be kind of in the middle between both of Udo Alliance right next to them and scoping in onto Intense Game.
The eastern side for Intense Game. Trying to move up that hillside to the plateau at the top. They do have a lot of control over the lower level of it, but Udo Alliance still sit atop in the compound further up. NB from that northwestern side gonna have to leave their sanctuary as well. Enigma Galaxy leaving Ralph out wide and staying vigilant towards the NASA position. A scrap now, eastern edge. It's going to be an intense game to lose a player. And Hyper want to keep this one rolling. 3 players in it for them. A low taken on that front side, on the longhouse. They're going to roll on out. Intense Game want the challenge, but it looks like he's up to it. Not quite going to be able to do it. There's an off angle. Is that Alien, the last player from 7th Element, chimes into that scrap, and all of these teams just going to suffer really, really heavily. Udo Alliance didn't third party, but they've got 3 players, and they can leave this area knowing there's way, way less threat from that angle.
Yeah, that was a great long distance shot by Alien. I love how 7th Element, down to a singular player, doesn't just play passive. He keeps himself close enough just to see if there's a potential third party from the fight he was forced to run from. So, and Hyper, remember, looked like they were about to take out 7th Element completely. Alien survived and kept just close enough to get that revenge.
There's quite a few teams just trying to hide on out. I still think that Notion Red Force have got this priority spot, this priority compound. FaZe have a little bit of a covered approach to it with the amount of divots that sit in front of them, so maybe they can get close enough to do something. Enigma Galaxy on the south, they're going to have to find an opening, and it's not going to be easy because NASA have that angle as well.
When a Notion Red Force gets knocked from NB Esports, that is definitely a long distance. There shouldn't be anything really coming to fruition off that. FaZe down to 2. They give some info away with where Mela's shots are, so Intense Game are here to take this position away. 2v3 situation. Mela over the top. I thought he was going to be good for that one, but he goes down. FaZe gets that trade, though. Onzen, 1v2. This nade could be huge. Runs back into the house before he gets naded. And look at this on the minimap. 2 other teams looking this way. Enigma Galaxy primarily looking to get some points for themselves.
If they can get this fight to conclude, if they can push on into this location, it's the foothold that they've been looking for this whole time on the south side. They have been kind of marginalized, sidelined into this lobby, but if they can find this opening, it would be excellent news. Will Alien play spoiler? Because FaZe has just gone down. Intense Game have kept 3 players alive all throughout their engagement as well, and Nexus's window, Enigma Galaxy's window might have just been closed.
Definitely so. Intense Game have been doing a lot with 3. So even running into that opposition with 4 players could be dangerous for the side of Enigma Galaxy. And we've seen, actually, maybe a bit off camera, Enigma Galaxy losing a lot of their fights, 4v3s on these crashes or aggressive fights. Enigma Galaxy, I think this whole day, we haven't really seen them win an outright fight. So even with 4, they're playing it slow, which I think they should be, looking for opportunity from distance, looking for options on rotations. It's good for them to keep up 4. Maybe into the very late stages of the game is when they're going to be pressed in just enough to take the fights and win them with the numbers advantage.
Enigma Galaxy rotating back out to the west side of the road. A little bit closer to Nongshin Red Force, so potential danger. You can see Ralph scouting out that way. Next circle, soon to pop. NASA have spread out wide on that western edge as well.
I think NASA realized that an opening happened in the south side for them to take some space away from Enigma Galaxy, and I think they beat them to it. Yeah, Enigma Galaxy wanted that west side for themselves as well, but were beat to it. And with that circle shift, I mean, that doesn't give much options at all now for Enigma Galaxy. They could have used that spot where Spec and J7 are on that southwest as a launching off point to wrap in and fight Nasser, but now they're just pretty much gate kept out by Nasser and Nongshan Red Force.
Looks like they want to break out to the east to maybe get a pick or 2. Alien is still here for 7th Element. I feel like he's relatively unknown in this position. I'm not sure if Intense Game are going to know that there's a player in this spot. So potential for a backstab if the fight with Enigma Galaxy goes on through. Are they rolling around trying to bait shots, or are they trying to look for Alien? It's hard to tell sometimes.
I think they're just trying to find some info on inside the zone, bait out shots. Because Intense Game, they have a difficult choice to make. Straight ahead is Nongshan Red Force, and outside of zone is also Enigma Galaxy. So Intense Game are just trying to figure out what to do here more than anything.
Diego with the monster truck. Alien is certainly going to spot that. And into the buggy as well. They're both playing away. They're playing behind on the cover. He has complete broadside here. There is no retribution angle either from Cielo. Opens up. There's one as well. The teammate left. And that is brilliant news for, actually, Enigma Galaxy. It's going to really slow down Intense Game. It's going to put the fear in them that there's this snake in the grass. Cielo still waiting on the outside. And that's 5 eliminations for 7th Element, but over the top they go. He's going into a fight, a 1 versus 4. He's going to try and go for the flush, but just in time it's saved. Can he stay alive? No, because Alian is still there.
Oh, he gets both of them. Alian takes both of those. Great job out of 7th Element. And man, I just can't help but say Enigma Galaxy had 4 and they lose a player that they really shouldn't have. They lost that player to the solo out of intense game. Sure, there was a third party from distance to confirm it, but man, Enigma Galaxy is just not playing on point right now as far as the executions go.
3 players from the south side. Can they make it work? Because not only have they lost a player, but so have Nongshim Red Force on that central area. So maybe with 3, they could still make it work. NB the only, sorry, NB and NASA, the 2 teams with 4 players alive in this lobby.
Nongshim Red Force, Sporta going in, down to 1 HP. There is a singular player in there. I think he's trying to clear it out. He should know, yep, pre-fires. Holds the angle, 1 HP, probably waiting for his teammates here. And oh, nice job, the reaction time, so quick. Sporta will take that player out. Nongshim Red Force, like you mentioned, with only 3, gives way for Enigma Galaxy to break into the zone a little bit more. But man, Enigma Galaxy was still only with 1 elimination points and not the best of positions. We'll see where the circle takes us very soon.
Alian does go down, but with a valiant effort from him. Excellent stuff for 7th Element. Maybe close enough to the bubble for tomorrow's games to be all important to get towards that survival stage. Kanina Power, the duo that's been holding off for a while against Yudu Alliance, now under direct threat on this ridgeline. No one really out to the east anymore to slow this push from Yudu, and they're going to go and take that burst knock. A spray out wide from Beckett isn't going to connect either, and Yudu Alliance will be able to survive with 3. No team is in this next circle yet.
Yeah. It does look like MB will get in there first. Nasser does have some compounds to play with, and Nongshim has the compound too, so Enigma Galaxy now forced to crash on in. It is a 3v3, luckily for them, because Nongshim lost 1. First knock goes to the way of Nongshim Red Force. Enigma Galaxy down to 2. And they don't have Coops here. Coops was the one player that went down for Enigma Galaxy.
Ooh, lighten it up.
Oh wait, no,
for
Coops
the
is still here.
Coops is here, he's on the inside, looking for the next spray as well. Has to retreat up the stairs, but he's down. And now it's all up to the player on the outside. Can you get on through? Can you keep them going? Because it's 2 players to deal with for Freak. 1 up, 1 down right now. Rotates through, looks to spray, suppress that staircase, slow the players pushing down, spots the backpack, and through the window he's spotted as well. It's traded back and forth. Was that a third party? Sporter just went down to NASA. They're rolling up now to try and stop Freak from getting anything more done. NASA burn away at the doorframe, and Freak will be tagged by the Molotov. He needs to hop out. He needs to get some first aid on.
Yeah, at this point, the solo left. 1 more ladder up on the placement is a good amount of point difference. May not be much, but they need every single point they could get. Unless he just goes for the 1v2. Freak, oh, tries to go for the hero rush. Will get taken down in 5th place, and I was saying this earlier, they've only got 2 elims. Not making use of that 4-man team towards the end whatsoever. And that is not a good finish for Enigma Galaxy.
Yudu Alliance looking to close out their day strong as well on this east side. They've been through the wars, they've been through the thick of it, but they picked up a lot of points for it. NB as well, 7 eliminations on this northwestern side. Have been able to keep themselves healthy for a while, but descending from that mountain, from that hilltop, has been a real challenge for them. NASA, in the meantime, 4 players alive. They're spread out on that south edge, trying to control mostly to the east side, and rightly so, because NB is struggling in their own right.
This should be Nasser's game from that south side. I mean, I know NB have 4 up on the north, but yeah, too many sightlines coming down from a high ground where everyone on low ground's looking up. Yudu Alliance get cut down to 2. Nongshim still hanging in there with the 2 that they have. They can still do something here.
The crawlback can come through for Yudu Alliance to potentially get this res. They need to do it soon with the blue zone pushing. It's not going to be easy. And playing as 3 could be all important for them. Iftar close by to this Nongshim position, playing on the windowsill. Zones are close to closing, the smoke blooms, and this is the move that you need to make, but it's only NASA in this next zone.
Nasser tried to go for a split there. Took a lot of heavy firepower, so things better up it. Luckily for him, he didn't get shot out that car. Nongshim does go out. We're down to the top 3. It is Yudu Alliance with their backs against the wall pretty much, being completely shut out by Nasser and NB Esports. They lost 1. They're working with 3. Can they find a way in?
with a big game. Yudo Alliance can absolutely catch Enigma Galaxy here as well, and maybe get a little bit closer to Morph, a little bit more insurmountable on that difference, but there's a chance if they're able to win this one out here. Looking to move down low, Cluck nade in hand, looking to try and find him, but Xenox is just too quick on this. Gets the spray down on the sidelines. J7 has fallen to a nade that did get cooked there, but there is an answer, and that's likely just going to take another knock, and Yudo Alliance most likely stopping here.
Oh yeah, Yudo Alliance in that buggy, tries to get out of nade range, moves up closer, will get taken down right here, and we are into the final two teams. Nasser versus NB Esports, and J7 not yet revived. They will go for it now.
Both of these teams looking to solidify a position in these top 11 spots. Going into tomorrow's games, that's what they'll be gunning for, that's what they'll be aiming for, but who can take the glory here? The final Miramar of day 3 of Group Red, nade in from Star, and more still to come. 2 nades still in the back pocket. NB have yet to unleash with that volley. They've got 7 HE grenades in the pocket as they start to launch them out now. If they can find an opening pick, that one looks pretty good. It's quite long. I think that might have been a smoke actually further out wide, but they're just suppressing that ridge line on the road.
Offensive smokes would be good here too. The ridge line is central, so Nasser have every advantage possible. They don't need to move it whatsoever. NB is going to be the first team forced to move. It should be done here. Unless if they can land a double knock with a nade, it's not looking great. Here comes a shot. Star not connecting, taking very safe peeks because he does not need to be aggressive here. And they are getting cut down. This is the chicken that Nasser finally wanted to get very soon. Just one more. This nade throws it in.
Mondo.
Goal.
Under threat.
Yes.
Will go down. Blasted skywards as Nasser closed down the day with a chicken dinner, a strong control match. Nice to find when you're towards the bottom of those tables as well. Into that survival stage, Nasser put up the points to try and make their bid to stay alive in PMGC. A really, really strong performance from them. I liked every moment of it. They had a good position. They regrouped well. It felt like maybe Nongshim Red Force were going to have a better time of it, but they just got whittled down time and time again by teams looking to move into that compound, and Nasser on the outside on the west to capitalize.
I think the decisive play from Nasser was actually, I think, maybe 7th circle, where they noticed Enigma Galaxy on the south side kind of maybe grouped up elsewhere, and they spread out and they basically corralled Enigma Galaxy to the east, where we saw all the fighting happen, and Nasser could just ride that out and pretty much made the other teams do the work for them.
Spec MVP, 4 eliminations, and again, quite a clean split. I'm not entirely sure how many eliminations they were able to get, but I think it was a decent chunk. The Miramar goes well for Nasser, certainly. So good news for them. Try and get them towards the top of the tables. Yudo Alliance as well, getting a little bit closer, potentially actually keeping themselves in the conversation with a top 3 finish. A decent chunk of fighting went their way as well. I think they got some eliminations on board as well, Zute.
Yeah, the biggest takeaway for me, though, was Enigma Galaxy setting up that trap play onto Morph. So we know their plan. We know what Enigma Galaxy wants to try and do to take that 3rd spot back. And going into tomorrow, that's 6 matches, and they've done their research. That camp that they did wasn't, the most obvious, I think, in my opinion. Definitely, did a lot of research to see where Morph would go in a circle like that. I wonder, will we see a lot more targeted plays between Enigma Galaxy and Morph?
Not only that, are we going to see targeted plays towards the 11th place bubble? It all remains to be seen as Nasser look to solidify themselves in that survival stage bubble. Can the things change? Can they shift up? We'll have to wait until tomorrow, but we're going to go back to the desk for now.
And that is it for day number 3 of Group Red. Hey, big shout outs to Nasser for being able to go ahead and get that chicken dinner there. I will say this, though, as a North American fanboy, I don't like it. I don't like it. Tomorrow is looking rough, 7.
It is looking rough, but I mean, for some of the teams, it's looking hopeful too. Yudo Alliance, with the performance that they were able to put up today, they are going to be in that conversation, especially if they come in tomorrow and continue to put up good numbers, and we see Morph only being able to wake up in Miramar. I feel like their place is going to end up coming down to the last match tomorrow.
Yeah, I was really worried after the first couple of rounds today that, like, it would just be four teams playing for top 3. if even that. But like Alliance, the way that they've just been building up steam across this entire event, they are making this very, very interesting. Shout out to Nazar for winning that round. Okay, they're yet again further up the leaderboard, put themselves, I'm assuming, in a much more comfortable place to not have to worry so much about being in the bottom 5. They're not going to be gunning for top 3. It's a bit too late for that. Too big of a point gap unless we're looking at like 3 wins in a row. But even for the best teams here, that's not like that's unfeasible to expect. But still, good for them to at least avoid the bottom 5.
100%. You know, it's so crazy to see that jump that Nasser's going to make. I wonder how close they're going to end up here on the leaderboards. We'll check it out in a little bit here. But yeah, at the end of the day, you know, top 3 is the goal. Making it out of the bottom 5 is going to definitely extend your life a little bit further. As we take a look here at the overall rankings, and you can see that gap. Nazar's only 1 point behind in Hyper?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
What a jump.
That's what happens when you only have a couple of really good wins and then everything else is underwhelming. That means that the gap is going to be open. Like at Hyper, you know, they have a couple of good rounds, but there's so many disappointing ones as well that they just don't really show up.
What do you think about that, Seven?
For me, I'm actually looking at 11th and 12th place. These two teams, so much expected out of them, and for them to currently just be fighting to not be sent home. Inco now getting pushed to 12th place, and I do have to give a special shout out to 7th Element Allian, because he was able to clutch up some great elements and some great placement points to at least put his team in contention to try to push for that 11th place tomorrow. Maybe give him a little bit of a confidence boost going into tomorrow as well. But you were talking about Nasser. I mean, at least now they got more of a cushion, right?
Yeah.
Going to tomorrow, they're going to be able to be ahead of that 11th place. And then if we go on the other flip side, Euro Alliance, for them to be able to put up 55 points today, when in 2 days they were able to put up 68 points, if I'm not mistaken, that is a great jump up for this team. If I'm Nigma Galaxy, if I'm Morph, I'm getting a little bit scared. I'm coming in tomorrow saying, you know what, we need to be on our A game.
Yeah. Again, because Alliance are going to be struggling. They are going to be following up behind. They are about 25 points behind the current 3rd place holder, which is Morph. So they're going to need to continue to push it, right? There is still the advantage for Morph and Nigma, but they can't slip it up. They can't allow the opportunity to continue to present itself. And it's always very interesting to see how teams adjust to that mentality. Playing defense versus playing offense, we've talked about this so many times before in previous broadcasts, can change how a team approaches. And I just hope that Morph, Nigma, whoever it is, they know that by playing defense, they're not supposed to play conservative, not supposed to play safe. They need to push and make sure that they continue to get those points, even if it is only to keep the opposition at an arm's reach away.
100%. I mean, we saw Morph pop off in the first Miramar, and then all of a sudden, you know, kind of dump it in the last one here. I mean, they do have that advantage that is going to be 2 Miramars to finish off tomorrow, but I don't think it counts, right? Because the last 2 matches, we always just see a whole bunch of craziness. So I think if